two different pension cases, two different poorly written decisions, so bad that the appellate division remanded back to the pension board. The board then didn't do anything with it except sent it back to the same judge that originally wrote the first bad decision on each of these cases, two different judges. Each judge then goes about trying to fix what they did wrong the first time. And so there I was back at the pension board to explain why it is that the judges are getting it wrong yet again, and only to have them say, no, we're going to go with what the judge says. And so I will be back in the appellate division. So I have already filed one appeal for one of the cases. I'll file the second one today, and we'll go back up to the appellate division. And these two cases are, to me, a demonstration on how bad the pension system is right now, or how broken it is right now. I have one case where one of these cases is where their own expert, the board's own expert, initially, after evaluating my client, finds that she's disabled. So reviews all the records, does a physical exam, finds that she's disabled. Then he reviews a report which comes before the last work accident, and says, based on his review of the one report, she's no longer disabled. I can't make it up. I literally can't make it up. And so, and then the judge goes on to say, oh, well, I find him to be more credible and not, oh, by the way, in that case, we had the treating doctor testify, the treating neurologist testify. And so, who had seen her over the course of a year and a half versus their one-time doctor. And as a result, the board still found that the judge's decision, try to, was wrong. You can't, I want to know, I want to ask, what are you thinking? I mean, and then it becomes clear to me is that this is just an excuse for us to hold on to the money even longer, and maybe you win, maybe you don't win in the appellate division, but, it'll be somebody else's call. And I have already been thinking about my argument in front of the appellate division and how, blustery I'm going to be up there, because this is now almost 8 years denying this woman her pension benefits. And again, their own expert first sees her and says she's disabled. Then, without seeing her again, without asking her any more questions, reviews a report that predates the work accident. And by the way, the work accident caused her to have a 3-level cervical fusion. So, kind of permanently changing the anatomy. And yet they still found that she was, not disabled. She can go back to work tomorrow. It's incredible. The other one is even worse. I mean, you didn't think it could get even worse. The other one's even worse. The other one involves a situation where the initial decision was so bad that when I went to the appellate division didn't even need to have us argue in front of them. They recognized the decision was so wrong that they, on their own, wrote a decision sending it back down to have it re-looked at. So what happens? It goes back to the board, and rather than the board doing anything with it, nope, sends it right back to the same judge. The same judge who has now been embarrassed at the fact that her decision was so bad that they didn't even need oral argument to reverse it. So now what do? We go about crafting a new report to try and morph it so that the appellate division will, abide by that. The ironic part of it is that in my letter to the board, I outlined probably 5 or 6 things that the judge literally got wrong. And when I say wrong, the judge says in her decision number two, that she didn't find that my expert anywhere indicated that his opinion was to a reasonable degree of certainty. And I point out to the board exactly right in the transcript where, in fact, the doctor says just that it's to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, his opinion. And there's like 5 or 6 different examples that I gave the board as to what the judge is saying and how wrong it is. It's not even in the evidence. And then she says, which was priceless, that the board's expert is, much more reliable and, much more credible because he performed objective medical, or he reviewed objective medical evidence. Now, the funny part of that is that their own expert testifies that all he does is what he calls a bedside neurologic evaluation. So basically, he's just, 8 minutes in, out, see ya, thanks. Okay. Meanwhile, I had testified the neuropsychologist who did 2 different cognitive tests to show that objective medical evidence to show that the guy had cognitive disability. And, oh, by the way, my client was a juvenile detention officer, so probably kind of important that he has his wits about him when he's at work. The original decision was so bad because the judge said that my client could physically do things. And she didn't find my client credible because he said that he couldn't do anything. Now, the ironic part of the whole thing is that the case is about a traumatic brain injury. It's got nothing to do with physical. It's traumatic brain injury. He's got cognitive dysfunction. Okay? In fact, the neuropsychologist testified, right, that it's good for him to get out and it's okay for him to drive and it's okay for him to do things around the house and outside and whatever. And so the video shows him doing those things. And she says, the judge originally says, well, he said he couldn't do anything, so I don't find him credible because the video shows him doing things. And it is so bad. And, then I've said this week, because this has gotten me all fired up. This has been since Wednesday. And I said, my answer is, I'm a litigator. So I go to court and we try cases. And you win some, you lose some, you win some, you're supposed to win, you win some, you're not supposed to win, you lose some, you're supposed to lose, you lose some, you're not supposed to lose. This is the nature of trial. And that's okay. I do mind losing, but, come on, right? But I get it. It's okay. It's okay because, it's the nature of the thing, right? But be intellectually honest about it. That's the big thing. Be intellectually honest, okay? If I'm going to lose and you create a whole thing explaining why it is and lay it out and, say it's a flip of the coin, my doctor says this, your doctor says that, could go either way, and you lose, I get it. It's okay. That one, I'm upset, of course, for me, my client, whatever, but I get it. It's okay. But when you demonstrate to the board how bad a decision it is and why what the judge is saying is wrong, not just like kind of wrong, but wrong and wrong in the transcript, wrong on the evidence that we're providing. How is it that they can't just do the right thing? And, the only board that I appear in front of right now, that, in my opinion, has any intellectual honesty about any of this is the police and fire. Because they at least get it enough where if you win or lose in front of the judge, but you go and you present something, or if you go and if you win in front of the judge and it goes there, they're not reversing just because. Well, all you see now is with public employees and teachers, those 2 pension boards, they're just holding on to the money. We'll hold on to the money and see if you win at the appellate division, which is a tough shot because it's only like 1 in every 4 that you win up there. So it's just so bad. And I've been so upset. And then, of course, you know, and oh, by the way, the other one was 8 years. This one, 10 years of litigation, 10 years to get to this point. And now I'm going back up to the appellate division because I'm going to keep on fighting for these people. I cannot stand it. I don't mind if you're going to make a decision and you're going to base it upon something, fine. But, you know, how can you just rubber stamp something when it is so obvious that what is being rubber stamped is just wrong? Is just, to me, a demonstration of how broken the whole process is, just how basically broken the process is.